So this is going to be my final video on the JV-30. So the main thing I've learned on this one is the switches are not good, and if you have any problems with the switches, then the best thing to do is replace the lot. So I've done that. Now once I did that, the issue then became the pots or the sliders, which also had problems. They seem to be fairly worn out. So I'm in the process of trying to clean them up. So I've done 3 of the sliders, and I've just taken this board out. I'm going to clean these 2 up as well. Okay, so I've taken the slider apart, and inside I can see that the carbon track is almost non-existent. So in this case it's probably better just to replace the thing, which I'll do at another time. Some of the others I've looked at seem to be reasonably intact, so a quick clean may well be enough to get them working again, at least for another few years. So I've been looking for a replacement, a direct replacement. I wasn't able to find anything exactly the same, but these are very, very similar. The only difference is the actual shaft where the knob fits is metal on these, and it's plastic on these. So I'm going to try a little experiment, and I'm going to take them apart, and I'm going to get the wiper and shaft out of the old one and put it into the new one. So if we take a closer look, you can see it's just the shafts that are different. The actual pinout is exactly the same, so that should go back into the board, no problem at all. So the next part is just to get the tags bent back so I can take the thing apart. And I've found using a screwdriver with a sharp edge is ideal for this, although of course there is a slight risk you will stab yourself in the finger. Maybe you'll get to see that in a moment. So here I think you can see how the track is completely worn away, and in actual fact it acts more like a switch now. Now for the second one, exactly the same process. I think it's quite important to keep the orientation of the 2 sliders the same, because you don't want to put the base back on the wrong way round. So the orientation is the same. There's a little groove in the top here which shows you which way is up effectively. You can see the size is pretty much the same. Now I know I've already taken this apart, but the last time I did that was quite dirty, so it's been cleaned up. I don't need to do that now. If this hadn't already been taken apart, then cleaning that with a bit of alcohol would probably be a good idea. Again, just keep checking that orientation, making sure you've got that right. Time to put it back together. Okay, I think that's more or less it. So I'm just fitting it back into the board. And I just need to solder that into place, making sure that it's 100% in contact and flush with the board. So now to have a look at the bender. I think some time ago I did some video of this, and the basic problem is that the cable on the JV-30 does not fit with the cable on the bender. and that's because this bender actually comes from a D50, but it looks exactly the same, so I think this should work if I can get the wires connected up the right way. So as a starting point, I've got the circuit diagram of both the D50, which is actually the bottom one. No, I've got it wrong. So yeah, it's D50 at the top, JV-30 at the bottom. And the big difference is the JV-30 has 6 lines coming from the bender unit, but one of them is not connected. And I think the one that is not connected is the center tap, which is connected on the D50. So I'm going to connect it up with the center tap not connected and everything else connected the way it should be. Okay, so the next thing I've done is actually make a note of the colours of the wires just in case things get mixed up. On the D50 that's nice and straightforward, they're all different colours. But unfortunately on the JV-30 they're all grey except for one which is red. Although in actual fact they are in order on the connector, so that's another way to look at it. Right, that's done. And all the wires are connected up. So it's just a matter of testing it now. Yeah, so the fader works fine now. The only problem was that the first time I tried to use it, there was a problem with the wiper, part of it getting jammed up against the case and shorting out the power supply, but that's fixed now. It's easy to see once I took the thing apart once again. So that's working fine. The bender, on the other hand, not quite so good. Modulation works fine. Now, but what happens is that if doesn't matter which way I bend it, it seems to drop to the lowest pitch that the bender is set to and then just stays there and never comes back. So after many efforts to finish off this JV-30, I think I finally managed to do it. The bender ended up being far more complicated than I expected. You would have thought with 3 wires it shouldn't be that difficult to actually work out how to connect them. But here it is, the final configuration, a D50 bender connected to a JV-30, and it works. So here it is. Now the first time I connected this up, what happened was that I bent up, the note went down and then stayed there, and I just assumed I'd not connected it right. But in actual fact, what you need to do is recalibrate the synth, and this is how you do it. You press the level and pan together, and then it goes into ROM play mode, and then, well, this bit's going to be a bit tricky, I'll have to put the camera down. Right, so you have to press variation, then vibrato, and then it goes into test mode. Then you have to do, in order to do the recalibration, you go performance, and it's number 15, which I can just about reach. Oh, try that again. Initialize, sure, and then you press the right button. And then it goes back to normal. So this would actually wipe all the patches as well, so that's something you might want to consider. But it now works.